is trading back and forth on Friday morning amid strong export demand and mixed sentiment in vegetable oils. Provincial crop reports and farmers are saying average canola yields are well below Statistics Canada's projections, adding that actual production may be closer to 18 million tons. Meanwhile, the Canadian Grain Commission reported yesterday that 253,000 tons of canola were exported during the week ended October 20th. Cumulative exports totaled 2.59 million tons compared to 1.088 million 1 year ago. Malaysian palm oil is in the red, but European rapeseed is mostly higher. Chicago soy oil is higher, and crude oil is propping up canola prices, gaining $1 US per barrel. The Canadian dollar is down 1/10 of a US cent compared to Thursday's close. The January canola contract is down 80 cents per ton at $652.20. In the US, prices for corn, soybeans, and wheat are all losing ground. While light rains are forecast for the next few days, temperatures and rainfall will be above normal across most of the U.S. Midwest in the first few days of November. In Argentina, recent rains are forecast to continue into November, providing for the normal plantings of corn and soybeans. French farmers have harvested 25% of their corn crop, but trails the 69% five-year average due to heavy rainfall. Iran has bought 120,000 tons of corn from the European Union, Brazil, and the Black Sea region, with shipments later this year. The December corn contract is down 6 US cents per bushel at $4.16. Low water levels have created barge restrictions on the Mississippi River, causing delays in groundings near Hickman, Kentucky. Tow sizes have been cut by 46% from Cairo, Illinois to the Gulf of Mexico. Delays are expected to last 2 to 3 days, but there will be no improvement in water levels for another 2 weeks. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's attaché in Brazil is estimating the country's soybean crop at 161 million tons, 8 million less than the agency's official estimate. The November soybean contract is down 9 US cents per bushel at $9.88. The Canadian Grain Commission reported 233,600 tons of wheat were shipped during the weekend of October 20th, bringing the marketing year total to 3.98 million tons, 185,000 below last year's pace. Black Sea wheat regions will also see rainfall, but not enough to improve their crops. Russia proposed a new international grain exchange at the BRICS summit in Russia yesterday, but it would take years to develop. The countries in the group also include Brazil, India, China, and South Africa. The December Chicago wheat contract is down 15 US cents per bushel at $5.67. The December Kansas City hard red wheat contract is down 13 US cents per bushel at $5.74. The December Minneapolis spring wheat contract is down 7 US cents per bushel at $6.11. That's a look at the ICE futures in US markets for Friday, October 25th. In Winnipeg from MarketsFarm.com, I'm Adam Pelashati.
Back in 1989, Butler Farm Equipment began providing industry-leading equipment and a top-notch service. 35 years later, they're still going strong. See them for New Holland tractors, balers, skid steers, mowers, and snow removal equipment for farms, construction, oil and gas industry, as well as hobby farms and acreages. Plus, get fall savings on snow removal equipment and remaining zero-turn lawn mowers. Butler Farm Equipment, decades of delivering great service in the Peace region. Visit butlerfarmequipment.ca.
The opinions expressed on this show do not represent those of the station. If you've missed any of the shows, you can follow the podcast at Energeticcity.ca. Welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your hosts, Dub Craig and Steve Berard.
Good morning. Later, I'm going to be chatting with Tim Plant from Northeast Foster Families. It is Foster Families Month here in Fort St. John, so we're going to dig into why you should consider becoming a foster parent and then how you go about doing so.
But first, obviously Halloween is just a few days away now, but after that comes the holiday season, a time when many families across the world struggle financially and in other ways. One program that helps to ease the burden on struggling parents is Operation Christmas Child, put together every year by the Samaritan's Purse. I'm speaking now with a member of the organization, Frank King. Frank, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on board today.
For sure, we're always happy to. So for people who maybe aren't familiar, maybe they haven't heard of Operation Christmas Child, can you give me just a quick rundown of what the program is?
Absolutely. So every year around this time, hundreds of thousands of Canadians from coast to coast pack shoe boxes, either supplied by us or their own, or shoe boxes they buy at dollar stores, that kind of thing. They pack those shoe boxes full of toys, school supplies, and hygiene items, and then they drop them off at one of hundreds of drop-off locations across the country. From there, those shoe boxes are shipped to our Calgary processing center, where thousands of volunteers inspect every box to make sure they're safe for children and they can get through customs and that sort of thing. After that, they are shipped down to countries in Central America, Ukraine, Philippines, and West Africa, where our partners down there get them through customs and set up distribution events for children. And the neat thing about this is these gift-filled shoeboxes, in many cases, will be the first gifts these children will have ever received. And for anyone wanting more information about Operation Christmas Child, the place to go is SamaritansPurse.ca.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're working out of Calgary, right?
Yes.
Have you ever participated in that inspection process or in creating those distribution events in those other countries? Tell me a little bit about your involvement with it.
Yes. So as a news media relations manager, one of my jobs, of course, is to talk to fine folks like you to let people know that Operation Christmas Child Time is here again, and they can help children in need just by packing shoeboxes. That's part of my job. The other part is I do go into our processing center during Operation Christmas Child season, and I get to talk to all kinds of volunteers who come from Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC, sometimes as far away as Ontario, just to come to Calgary to help process these shoeboxes so that children in need can get them. I've also been on some Operation Christmas Child shoebox distribution trips, and that's a pretty amazing experience to actually see children at the other end receiving these Canadian packed shoeboxes.
So for people who maybe aren't super familiar, can you walk me through some of the hard details, what the deadlines for dropping off donations are, and sort of what the timeline for distributing those shoeboxes looks like?
Yes. Well, the most important thing I can tell you is National Collection Week for Operation Christmas Child this year is November 18 to 24. Now, once your shoeboxes are packed, the key thing is where to drop them off. And this is easy. Just go to SamaritansPurse.ca and you will be guided to a spot where you can find shoebox drop-off locations. And all you need to know is your postal code. You type your postal code in and it will give you all the shoebox drop-off locations in your region, including the hours of operation, to make this thing as simple as possible for you. And the neat thing I can tell your listeners too is that if you live somewhere where there is no shoebox drop-off location, the simple alternative is to go to packabox.ca and pack your shoeboxes online. That's how my wife and I do it every year. It's super convenient, super easy. And what happens is in the new year, we get thousands of volunteers together in our Calgary Processing Center, and they physically pack the shoeboxes that Canadians actually do online.
Okay, awesome. And can you tell me a little bit about what the timeline looks like for I believe you said it's November 18th to 24th is National Collection Week. What's the timeline look like from then to getting those gifts distributed?
Those gifts get distributed year round.
Okay.
There are some people who are almost upset that they're not actually distributed at Christmas. But the idea of being able to get shoeboxes from Canada to the Ukraine or Philippines into children's hands in less than a month is simply not realistic.
Right.
The other key thing is that in many cases, these places, they don't celebrate Christmas. Like in West Africa, which is mostly Islamic, they don't celebrate Christmas. So whether these kids get their shoeboxes in December or during an August heat wave, doesn't matter. It's still an amazing gift for them from people they've never met in a country they may have not even heard of before. And yet here it is for them. And it's a great way for us as a Christian organization to show them that, number one, Canadians know about how they're living and they have not forgotten them. And number two is we believe as Christians that God knows about them and is using Operation Christmas Child to let them know that he hasn't forgotten about them either. And again, the place to go for everything Operation Christmas Child is SamaritansPurse.ca.
For people who hear this interview today and are interested in taking part or contributing, are there any specifically in-demand items that should go inside a shoebox? I know you talked about hygiene items, for example.
The three things we always look for folks to put in their shoeboxes is school supplies, hygiene items, and toys. My wife and I always put a priority on school supplies because even in countries where the education system is free, children often have to supply their own pencils, paper, erasers, rulers, that kind of thing. Well, for some families, that alone means their children will not go to school, not get an education, and not have a vital tool to break the cycle of poverty. So when my wife and I are doing our shoeboxes, we always make sure to have school supplies as a key part of that.
Awesome. Yeah. Are there any items that maybe some people would be thinking of that could go in a shoebox, but maybe they probably shouldn't put in?
Yes, for sure. No food items, no toothpaste. Toothbrushes are great, but no toothpaste. Let's see, no playing cards. And the reason for that is that many families are struggling with gambling addictions. And so we don't want to put any playing cards in there that could, encourage that sort of thing. The other thing we say is no toy pistols or any of that, because many of these boxes go to places where violence or war is a part of life, and so we don't want to have these kids have any reminders of the kind of world that they have to live in. And again, SamaritansPurse.ca is a place to go to get all the recommendations of what to put in boxes and what not to put in boxes.
Awesome. Now, some people are going to listen to this and maybe they don't have the money to contribute a box themselves, but they've got some time they want to offer. Is there somewhere people can go to learn about volunteering?
The volunteering generally takes place during processing season in Calgary, but we also need volunteers across the country. So the key thing is, if you go to SamaritansPurse.ca and go to Operation Christmas Child, you will see some places where you can find out how to volunteer, because we do have thousands of volunteers across Canada working, in communities, in churches, to sort of set up drop-off locations, to lead their community groups or their churches, to pack shoeboxes, that kind of thing. And again, all that information, SamaritansPurse.ca.
Okay, perfect. Last question for you, Frank. Here in Fort St. John, where should people go to donate?
Glad you asked that. In Fort St. John, folks should take their boxes to Fort St. John Alliance Church on 99th Avenue, and that is between November 18 to 24. And most days, I'm just looking down my list here, most days they're open 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., or 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So it's a pretty good sort of opening there. But again, that's Fort St. John Alliance Church on 99th Avenue.
Okay, perfect. Frank, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to go over? Any other programs the Samaritan Purse is involved in that people should hear about?
Well, we are definitely hugely involved in disaster relief. So, for example, right now, one of our disaster relief tractor trailer units and a team is actually down in Florida, helping folks recover from Hurricane Helen. There was a gigantic amount of damage there, and so we're going to be there for months to come to help them out, just as we were, for example, in Fort McMurray after the wildfires in 2016. And in southern Alberta after the giant flooding in 2013. So that's a big part of what we do. And again, SamaritansPurse.ca is a place to get that. Two other things. Number one is, again, packabox.ca for anyone who wants to help children out by packing shoeboxes online. And number two is a huge thank you to all the folks in the Fort St. John region for how they have contributed to this program in the past and how I know they're going to do it through the future. It's folks like them, like your listeners, who make this program possible. So a big thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Frank. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it too. And happy Halloween.
Yeah. That was Frank King with Samaritan's Purse. Again, in Fort St. John, donations will be accepted from November 18th to 24th at the Fort St. John Alliance Church. We'll be right back with Dub's chat with Tim Plant of Northeast Foster Parents on This Week in the Peace.
Ever dream of driving a Yukon, Yukon XL, or Tahoe and paying less? Well, dream no more. Employee pricing is here. You pay what we pay with savings up to $11,401. That's right, luxury, full-sized SUV with a tiny price tag. Why settle for less when you can roll big without breaking the bank? Shop our inventory online at murraygmc.com. Murray GM. Employee pricing ends soon. Hurry in.
Attention all Peace Region energy workers. Great Canadian Oil Change salutes your hard work and dedication to powering our communities. They know you depend on your vehicles to keep you going, so when it's time for service, trust Great Canadian Oil Change. They proudly accept all fleet cards, making it convenient for you to maintain your fleet on the go. Quick, no appointment service done in about 15 minutes. Now open across the highway from Safeway and Starbucks. Convenient, trusted, expert care. Now that's a Great Canadian Oil Change.
Did you know Humpty's Big Plate Diner has a Chop House special on right now?
What's a Chop House special?
It's all about farm-to-table quality pork dishes, made to order, just the way you like them.
Oh, I like big breakfast. Benny's and pork chops.
Humpty's has a 3-egg breakfast with bangers and beans, Black Forest ham rodeo Benny, and 3 kinds of double pork chops. That should be enough, even for you.
Well, let's go to Humpty's, the home of delicious made-from-scratch meals.
The Fort St. John Métis Society Bingo is back again this Tuesday at 7 p.m. We'll be playing 4 games again this week: a line in any direction, the Big X, a big picture frame, and a blackout jackpot worth $1,000. Grab your blue cards for just $5 at the Fort St. John Métis Society office, located behind Canadian Grind, or at Scoop Clothing, 9935 100th Avenue. Don't miss out. Tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on moosefm.ca/bingo for your chance to win big with the Fort St. John Métis Society Weekly Bingo. BC Gaming License 153829. 19 plus only. Know your limit. Play within it.
These days at your local Legion, we're marching to the beat of a different drum. On a mission to support veterans, to have fun, and to welcome everyone to our ranks. You don't have to be a veteran to join the Legion. And as a member, you'll join thousands of others serving our veterans, our communities, and our country. Oh yeah, and our Member Perks program will save you thousands on shopping, dining, products, and services across the country. Join us at legion.ca.
Moose Country weather.
We're going to see sunny sky and a high of +4. Tonight, increasing clouds, wind picking up as well. Southeast 20 gusting to 40 km an hour near midnight. We dip to a low of -4, wind chill -10. Tomorrow, cloudy with some snow beginning in the morning. When it wraps up in the afternoon, we may have seen up to 2 centimeters. We'll see a high of 0, and periods of snow for Sunday at a high of -2.
You can watch this show live on Facebook. Catch the replays at Energeticcity.ca or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Dub. Well, it's Foster Family Month here in Fort St. John, as it was recently declared by City Council. So I thought it was a great time to dig into what it's like to be a foster family or a foster parent and how you can go about becoming one. So I'm very happy to be joined now by Tim Plant from Northeast Foster Families. Tim, welcome to This Week in the Peace.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to us today. So yeah. I think everyone has a pretty good idea of what it means to be a foster parent, but why don't you tell us a bit about, if there's a definition you have or sort of just in general, what happens when you become, like what a foster parent is, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. How to define a foster parent? That is a really good question. There's a lot to being a foster parent. I guess it requires flexibility to be willing to be on call and ready to take a kid in the middle of the night if that's what's required at that moment. It requires knowing how to care for kids in a respectful and loving way, and having that flexibility and knowledge of trauma and working with kids who have experienced trauma. it requires having enough energy, I guess, to take care of these kiddos and really give them the love and care and support that they need.
Mm-hmm. The children who end up, living with foster parents for a time, where are they coming from? What's their kind of story? And so I know there's probably lots of those, but kind of in general, what's that situation like?
Yeah, there are a lot of reasons that kids end up in the foster system. Largely, or to encompass all of it, it's kids who for one reason or another are not able to stay with their biological parents for a time, and so there's the system set up so that when the parents need some time and focus on their own lives, then the system is set up to take care of these kids temporarily until the parents can scrounge and get everything together and do what they need to do to be able to provide safe and stable homes for their own children.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose it's the case too, sometimes kids are sort of on their way to hopefully even an adoption situation. I think temporary is really the key word.
Temporary is a key word. Yeah. Occasionally it ends up in an adoption, but it's important for foster parents to know that the goal is to return kids to their biological parents. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So I mean, as you describe the situation, I hear it as a parent to my own biological kid, thinking, the type of person you kind of have to be all those things you said, and to know that you're sort of offering temporary care, temporary protection, in some cases even probably temporary love and affection for kids who are going to be moving on at some point, as you say, hopefully to their biological parents again.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about being a foster parent, what do you say to people to say, this is why it's important, and this is why it would be worth some of the sacrifices that you will be making in getting to know a child for a time and not necessarily for a lifetime?
Yeah. Even especially in the first few years of a life, and even more so again onward. It is so essential for the development of a child to experience a secure attachment and love and stability and security in relationship. And so being able to offer these kids even temporary relief and support and that stability that they need, even briefly, is essential for their development. And so really it's an investment into the life of these children, and then what that ends up being is an investment in society. It ends up being these kids grow up and become adults, a part of society. And so being able to provide these kids with the support and care that they need, even for if it's a month or if it's 2 years, that's an investment into our society, into our future.
You kind of become a very important part of the village, as they say, as it takes a village, right?
Yeah, it really does take a village, especially this is like the epitome of it, taking a village to raise a child. Yeah.
What kind of need is there for foster parents in, whether it's Northeast BC or even BC wide? I assume you kind of try to keep children close to where their home kind of was and will hopefully be again, right? So you're not necessarily going to be fostering parents from the lower, or children from the lower mainland if you're in Northeast BC. So can you talk a bit about the need for foster parents? Is there a lot of kids who need this right now, and as such you need more foster parents in the system?
Yeah, I think we have 19 foster families in Fort St. John right now, and we are always looking for more. 19 is great, and we are so thankful for those 19 and all the work that they do. But then we also recognize that we used to be in the 30s. A few years ago, we had 30-something foster families, and the number of foster kids is not decreasing.
Yeah.
So we do have a need for more foster families, more people who might say, okay, I've already raised my kids and I still have a lot of love in my heart left to give to kids, or young families who are willing to welcome a few more kids into their home and give them what they need. Yeah. Yeah. So there really is a need, and you're right, there is a goal to keep kids close to home. as it's challenging for them to be taken out of their home, to be taken out of their community, their school, their friend groups is just even harder for them.
Yeah. So you want to upend their lives as little as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then tell me a bit about the process of becoming a foster parent. If there's someone listening who's like, yeah, I might be able to be somebody like that. I'm not sure I have everything required, but I just want to start putting feelers out there and whatnot. What does that process look like, and how do you help people become foster parents?
Yeah, well, the first step is a conversation and considering it and learning about it. And so I can help with that, and MCFD helps with that in teaching what it is to be a foster parent. And
what's MCFD?
Oh, sorry, the Ministry of Child and Family Development.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So they and I can give some information and help people discern, and is this right for me, and is this the right time in my life? And then if the decision is that yes, they would like to do so, then they can fill out an application form, and there's a training program, the Pride program, that we bring them through, and then we can assign them a home. And then it gets more complicated as we go along. There's different levels of foster homes, and so we begin in the first level, and then as they gain more education and more knowledge, then they can go to level 2 and 3 as a foster home.
Okay, so you kind of, as a foster parent, you'll increase your skills and training as you go along. You don't have to be ready to be perfect right at the start.
Right. Yeah. Kind of ease into it. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Then I guess the last question is that person saying, okay, well, this is me and I want to find out more. What do they do to come see you, and how does that work then, Tim?
Well, today I'm going to be at Cecil Lake at the health fair.
Okay.
So if they're ready right this second, they can head down there to the community hall this afternoon and talk to me there. Otherwise, if they need a little more time to think about it than just a few hours, they can phone me at 250-793-2267 or send out an email to me at foster@communitybridge.ca. And then Bhumika Sharma is available as well. She works for MCFD, or the Ministry of Child and Family Development, and anyone can contact her at 250-224-2770 or bhumika.sharma@gov.bc.ca, and that's BHUMIKA.SHARMA.
Yeah, and if you didn't catch all that, that information is also available on the Northeast Foster Families website.
Yeah.
I think I found you through the Community Bridge website as well, so it's very easy to find this information with a simple Google search. We got about a minute left. Tim, any last words you want to have just for people listening right now who, again, might be considering becoming a foster parent? Why should they make the leap?
Yeah, it is rewarding to know that you are pouring into a kid's life, a kid who really needs this love and support and care that you can offer. The rewards are in the smiles that they give. And as challenging as it can be, sometimes there are those moments of noticing and realizing the impact that this really has on this person's life. Yeah.
All right. Well, Tim, thank you very much for your time today. I
Thank
really
you, Deb.
appreciate it. All right. That was Tim Plant of Northeast Foster Families. And we want to thank our other guest today, who was Frank King. I've mixed up my papers here, so we're going to get Steve going here now.
Yes, that was Tim Plant of Northeast Foster Families. Thanks again to Frank King from Samaritan's Purse for joining us today on This Week in the Piece. And thank you for tuning in. You can listen to this show again by checking out the podcast at Energeticcity.ca/podcasts. We'll store this and future episodes of the show there as we make them. Also, check out our other locally produced podcasts, Before the Peace and Secrets of the North as well. That's our show. I'm Steve Berard.
And I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us again next Friday morning at 10 for another edition of This Week in the Peace, your weekly talk show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Or you can listen to this podcast again at Energeticcity.ca.
A new year, new opportunities. Apply now to join UNBC in